bow our heads for a moment of prayer. Gracious God, for this place we are so grateful. For the people here, we are so grateful, including those walking out the door. Bless our endeavors, enlighten our hearts, make light our feet and hands for the work that you have set before us. And let us always know that with you all things are possible. We are so grateful that you are our God. We ask your blessings in the name of your precious Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So we have a short agenda. We're going to talk about Sandy and Nola, our missions. We're going to talk about the building update, and we're going to talk about stewardship, okay? And Elisa, I think you should talk about Sandy because you've been. Can you just give us an update on what that's been like for you?
Hi. So we went 2 weeks ago, and we went back again yesterday to the Rockaways. We met up with Team Rubicon and the Rockaway Emergency Plan, and then AmeriCorps yesterday. So we've partnered with some wonderful people. So we show up, and they give us our tasks the day of, and we all go out and work really hard. The first time we had 37 people that came with us 2 weeks ago, and yesterday we had 27 people. So our middle church volunteers are on it. I would also like to report from my perspective that from 2 weeks ago to yesterday, there seems to be a lot of improvement, a lot less sand on the streets, a lot less visible destruction, and so there's still a lot to do, but a lot has been done, and every time we go, there are volunteers on every street, and so it's really nice to see everyone getting together to do this important work. And yesterday, everybody that's here that was here yesterday, congratulations for making it out with the muscles. We did some intense labor yesterday, and it's just really nice to see how everyone works together. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa. Sorry, guys. I'm allergic to meat. So we want to talk about New Orleans now. And Chad, can you do that? Thank you. Is Chad on?
So we're taking a trip to New Orleans in February. There was some discussion about whether we should go or not, because we have so many people who want to help here locally for Sandy. And we went back and forth, and we decided that it was important for us to continue our commitment to New Orleans. Thank you. To continue our commitment to New Orleans, as you know, we've gone every single year since the storm hit in 2006. And we thought, just as Sandy requires a long-term commitment and will require a long-term commitment from us, we are equally committed to New Orleans for the long term. And there are actually some things that we can learn by going back to New Orleans this time that we can learn about how to rebuild here locally. So we are taking our mission trip this year. There are 20 slots available, and come and speak with me if you want to find out more about it. If you're watching us online, you can send me an email. My email is available online as well.
Okay. So I think we're going to do stewardship next, which, we're doing the building next, and then finance, and then stewardship.
Hi, does everyone have a construction frequently asked questions? You should all have one. I'm not going to review it. You can read it at your leisure. I just want to sort of do a quick update. As you know, we vacated 50 East 7th Street in May. Just to let you know, the asbestos abatement has been done, and the bathrooms are completed downstairs. So that was done in August. And during the summer, we revised our building plans so that they would be more cost-effective and we could get more bang for our buck, in a sense. And so we have hired a new contractor to implement those plans. So we are a little bit kind of sort of on schedule. But we're able now to, because we've done this revision, we are able to get more things. We have more things to be implemented. So we're very, very excited and happy about that. So we're pretty much on schedule. We may be off about a few weeks. And the bulk of the construction should be done in June, and that is our hope and prayer. So we're pretty much on schedule for that. Just about the sanctuary, in case you were wondering, we're not going to redo that. We have some construction things going on to help us improve it, and we'll be sort of monitoring and making sure that whatever's going on back there doesn't affect what's going on in here. You have this, we have information on the website, and you can ask anybody, any of the elders or deacons, if you need assistance or have any questions.
Does anybody have any questions about the building project? Yes, Allison. Cheryl's going to give you the mic.
How can we make the sanctuary bigger?
Oh, that's good.
And I know it's, but just it keeps being a problem.
It's a huge problem.
And I will sell a kidney if I need to.
Turn around and say that in the camera.
Hi. My name is Allison Mickelson, and I love this place, and we do worship well, and by we, I mean, and we need a bigger sanctuary.
Thank you, Allison. Let's talk about that for a couple seconds, and let's let this leak. We really do need a bigger sanctuary. We just are out of space. And church research shows that when you get 80% full, people leave. So there are lots of Sundays when I see people look in, look around, hover, and go. The balcony fills up fast, and it's hot up there. We are out of space. So what are we doing about that for now? We had plans drawn up that would have enlarged our sanctuary by taking the sanctuary into the social hall. Do you guys remember that? We were going to make a longer sanctuary and work with the roof and that kind of thing to make it not look like a skinny tube. That is a $24 million project. To do that thing and the sanctuary thing is a $24 million project. Quite frankly, Collegiate just doesn't have it like that right now. And by the way, nor do we. What we are hoping to do, as Cheryl says, because of the budget savings, let's say, we've been able to have, we had taken our plan and put it in a couple of phases, if you will. Phase 1, let's get the elevator and let's get the classrooms. Phase 2, do some work in the cellar so we can have meeting space and more bathrooms. And phase 3, work on this. What we're hoping is that the social hall will get to be worshipful space. Now, it won't be in here, but our hope is that we will have worship cafes type tables so that it's not a big table of 8 with 2 people and telling you can't sit there. So smaller tables, a little acoustic check, speakers that will project in here, in there, and a screen that will be really kind of high quality screen so that it feels like it's worship in there. And for some people, that might be a good thing. I can have my coffee and I can worship. That's our hope and our prayer. And so that we can double our space in a way, both at 11, 6. The staff is already talking about whether we might need something's at 10:30 and something's at 12, another worship. Because really, and this is what's exciting to me when Allison asks that question, is one way we could do this is we could be like, well, we're just full. And that's that. But in fact, God calls us to spread this good news. And we have good news to spread. So we're going to have to do something about it. So I appreciate the question. I appreciate the kidney offer right in the camera. That's great. She has another one.
And Collegiate Churches, I'm very thankful for everything you do for Middle. Please don't take it that way.
Thank you, Allison. Anybody else have questions about what we've covered so far? So it's Nola, Sandy, the building. Yeah, Carol? Hang on, wait for Chad's mic. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Carol. I have a question. Suppose someone wants to go to New Orleans, they purchase a ticket, and the 20 people, there may be only 4 people going. Are you still going to have the trip?
If we get less than 20 people, we're still going to have the trip.
Okay, great.
It'll just shift the mission. Just shift to, we'll do more see and report than do. Yeah.
One more question. When do you want the money for the trip? What's the deadline for?
Yeah,
It's
I don't know.
$200 some dollars or something.
Our internal Our internal deadline is the end of this month, but there's leeway, so no worries.
Okay? All right. Any other questions? Yeah. Hi. Phyllis.
Do you have an idea? You said the reconstruction in the other building will be done by June, so will we be able to use the social hall by then?
We are hoping the term that they use is the major construction will be done by that time. We hope to be able to, but we can make no sort of promises.
Yeah, we can't. If I were us, I would get our hopes really excited for homecoming Sunday, October, first Sunday in October.
Yeah.
I would just be so excited about that and look for that so that if it happens sooner, we're like, woot, look how good we did. That's what I would do. Okay. All right? We're going to hear from Chad now about money issues, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about stewardship.
So you have your two-sided handout. And I should say, I would like to add to our Sandy discussion that there are financial components to Sandy as well. So we, as many of you know, we started the It Takes a Village Feeding Fund. We're almost up to $5,000 that have been collected for that so far. So thank you for your generosity. And yes, woot. And we're distributing Trader Joe's gift cards to people in need so that we can distribute those funds. Also, we received a grant from the Collegiate Church Corporation of $20,000 for us to use here locally. And so we've already begun to share that with people in need. And we still have some funds left over in that as well. So our Sandy recovery includes mission work, but it also includes a financial component as well. So thank you for your commitment to this. If we could start with the operating results side, if you're watching this online, I'm going to try to talk us through this so that you don't need this in front of you. But if you would like a copy, you can stop by our office and we can give you a hard copy. We're not going to send this out in the cyber world because these are internal confidential numbers. So on the top half of our chart where it says revenues, those are all the monies that have come. By the way, we're looking at last fiscal year. So our fiscal year that ran July 1st, 2011 through June 30th, 2012. That's how our fiscal year runs. So these results on this page are last fiscal year. So on the top are all the revenues, all the money coming in. On the bottom are the expenses, all the money's going out. And you can see that our actual column, we had a net deficit of $39,000. And I'll talk to you about what that represents because it's not as bad as it seems. There's actually a benefit to our having a deficit here. So let's start up with revenues on the top. Remember that we set for our annual offering goal last year $350,000, and that's in the budget column. And you will be very happy to know that we raised over that by over $25,000. We received $375,000 and change. So great job, everyone. We really came through on that. That's really, really exciting. The next line is program revenue, and that includes when our building was open, our AA, our 12-step groups paid us a fee for rent, New Alternatives paid us a fee for rent. That includes weddings, all that stuff. And we came in a little under budget because our building was closed for a chunk of time towards the end of our fiscal year. Product sales or our bookstore sales, we don't budget for that because we never know how much we're going to get in. We did bring in $6,000 through that. So those first three lines are middle stuff. It's all the things that go on in the life of our community and our building. The next line is from the Collegiate Church Corporation. That's what CCC stands for. So that represents an appropriation, which is a portion of revenue that we receive from the endowment every year, and that runs about $1 million. Along with some special grants. Last year we received benevolence grants that we could use to give to people in need. We received a communications grant. So that line represents all the funds that we received from the Collegiate Church Corporation. And if you're watching us online, that number for the year was $1.1 million. We had a slight variance because what we budgeted when we set the budget, we expected some special grants that we did not receive. But overall, we're very grateful to Collegiate for that $1.1 million. And we'll be talking a little bit later about how to think about Middle's contribution to our ministries versus the Collegiate Church Corporation's contribution. The last line on there, and this is where it's kind of a good story, we budgeted $50,000 for a draw from our endowment. We have a special endowment called the Olga Downey Fund that was left to us by Olga Downey, who was a longtime member of our community, that is geared specifically for children and youth activities. There's an accounting nuance here that if we take a draw from our endowment, then we recognize that as a source of income. We did not take a draw from our endowment this year because we didn't need it. We actually have a lot of cash in the bank. So we didn't record the revenues, but what that does mean is that we preserve the capital that was in that fund. So it's actually a good story to tell. So if we look at the bottom, the 39,000 deficit, that deficit was funded by cash that we already had in the bank from prior years. So we did go into a deficit, but we funded it from cash we already have. And we didn't have to draw down from the Olga Downey endowment. Okay? So that's the revenues. That's all the money is coming into us. On the expense side, we've broken it out by our different program areas. And within each of these program areas, you'll see worship and music. You'll see nurture and education, which is all of our pastoral care work. It's all of our youth and children activities. Reach out is all of our missions work. Communications and media are all the tech stuff that go on, including the cost it takes to stream our worship online. That's actually a lot of money. The fifth line is resourcing the ministry facilities, and that is what it costs to run this building, the heat, the utilities, all that good stuff. And the final line is resourcing the ministry administration, which is all of our office costs. So if you're watching this online, each of these lines represent between $230,000 and $300,000. And they're roughly evenly spread. We allocate our employee costs to these various lines. So for example, worship and music includes all of our musician costs. Nurturing and education includes Adrian's compensation will go there. My compensation goes to administration, since I do the numbers. So we allocate our compensation costs, which are probably the biggest component of these expenses. At this time, well, before I go there, so our total expenses for the year were $1.6 million. And that is roughly in line with what we budgeted. It actually was below what we budgeted by $22,000. So that's a good story as well. To let you know what's included in these expenses, because this number, the $1.6 million, is not everything that it costs to make Middle happen. And you'll see this, the second footnote, what expenses are not included in here. So this does not include our renovation costs that are going on. It does not include our senior minister's salary, which is paid directly by the Collegiate Church Corporation. So that's a chunk. There is parsonage-related costs. So the parsonage, that is handled directly by the Collegiate Church Corporation, as well as all of our employee benefits. So my salary ends up in administration, but my benefits are not in the $1.6 million. So that's another very, very big chunk. And then there are all of Middle's share of the corporate office's expenses, their rent, their compensation and benefits and whatnot. So the $1.6 million is our operating budget, but our operating budget excludes several key pieces. So what we did on the reverse side of this is try to give you a pie chart view of what it takes to run our ministry. So on the first two charts on the top, these are our operating expenses. The denominator in this pie chart is the $1.6 million. And on the left, you'll see operating expenses for this past year, fiscal 2012. And on the right, you'll see for this new fiscal year that began July 1st in fiscal 2013. And you can see that our comprehensive campaign, remember it was $375,000 last year, that little quarter there, was 23% of the total pie of the $1.6 million. Other sources of Middle were 6%, And then the Collegiate Church Corporation contributed 71% of the $1.6 million. So that's a significant chunk. As we move forward in the future, our goal is for Middle to contribute a larger portion of that chunk. And as we look at our budget for next year, the comprehensive campaign, which is set at $425,000 this year, will be 25% of the total pie. Other Middle sources will be another 8% of the total pie. And we're looking for the Collegiate Church to make up 67%, which is 4% less than prior fiscal year. Okay? The bottom pie is, remember I said there were all these things not included in the $1.6 million. The bottom pie is the whole kit and caboodle. It's the whole pizza. And so when you add in, and that's the darker slants there, the contributed services of 48%, you can see that everything shifts around and that Middle's contribution to the fully allocated expenses ends up being 15% last year, the 12 plus the 3, and in this upcoming year, 18%, 13 and 5. So we wanted to give you a flavor for what it really costs to run this ministry. It's not cheap. And we are very grateful to the Collegiate Church Corporation that we can do these ministries. And at the same time, we're looking to increase ownership of our ministries so that we can be more actively involved in what it takes to run this community and do what we do. Yes, questions? Yeah, I know that was a lot of data thrown at you.
Does
so.
Middle have to give a donation to the CCC or a certain amount from monies that you bring in?
No, we don't. There are sometimes that funds go back and forth, but overall it's the appropriation that we're given and special grants that we're given. Yeah.
We just pay part of the office cost. Middle pays part of the office cost, right?
That would be in our fully allocated expenses.
Right.
We do get allocated a portion of those expenses, but cash does not transfer. That's a good question.
Yeah, Ellen's going Deacons Fund, but that's not really a pay. It's we all contribute, all 5 ministries contribute to a Deacons Fund that then comes back out to us, as Chad said before. Yeah. Chad, I think that was great. That was
you.
very wonderful.
Okay,
Very easy.
thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much, Chad. Friends, so one of our really important goals in our, I'm the vision bearer, so I'm always thinking about our Vision 2015. And one of the things that we said was increased ownership in ministry. And the other thing that we said was increased transparency and communication. So this is why this conversation, and why next time I feel like we say, don't leave until we talk. But hoping that you'll leak the information and we'll share these things and they're online and maybe not the numbers, but maybe the pie chart, Chad, we'll talk about that. Okay. But this is your ministry. So I want to talk a little bit about stewardship and give you just a high level where we've been and where we think we're going. I've been at Middle almost 9 years. It'll be 9 years Christmas Eve. Bless you, Sierra. And when I came 9 years ago, our budget was considerably smaller. Our congregation was considerably smaller. Half, maybe. And the way we talked about money was very, very significantly smaller, meaning we didn't talk about it. We were, the history of Middle's recent history is maybe 30 years ago or so, Gordon Drott came to be our minister, and there were like 21 people worshiping in Middle Church. And Middle Church was on the maybe get closed list. But Gordon had this incredible, infectious personality and gifts for ministry, and he grew the church from those 21 people to 400 people in his 20 years here. That's an amazing thing. Changed the culture, open, welcome, inclusive, fabulous, fabulous. I inherited such a great place. But we didn't talk about money. The contract, the tacit contract was, you come, you sit, that's our mission to you. We're going to fling our doors wide open. You come, you sit, you be. And we really won't ask you to do much. And that's actually what can happen in mission. You go to New Orleans to do mission, you're not necessarily saying, we're coming down there with you and now we're going to make you work with us. There's a kind of gift. So the gift was, this is a wide open door, everyone's welcome just as you are, and just come and be. But when Gordon left, he knew that that was going to have to shift. He knew we were going to have to do a capital project because we were out of space then. And we never worship with the 780 people on our rolls because we don't have space for them. So he knew we were going to do a capital project. He knew we were going to need to go, this was our favorite thing, to go deeper and wider. He wanted us to do more about education, more about small groups, more about mission. And he wanted us to go in the world. The consistory under Gordon, in their last term, if you will, said we've got to be worshiping online, and now we are. So the deep and wide, the do more, mission, learning, growing, and the wide costs more money than to just worship in here. It just does. And so that's one factor. Costs more to do ministry a new way. 2, there's certainly a per capita increase. The larger you are, the more it costs to do ministry. That's the truth. But 3, collegiate is shifting its culture. And I want to say we are collegiate. Our local board, James is here and Cheryl are here from the local board, also sit on the large, Dennis is here on the local board. These 3, these 2 deacons and this elder sit not only on middle's board, but they sit on the larger collegiate board. And the larger collegiate culture is shifting. It's shifting from you're entitled to this money to partner with us more. It's shifting from our resources are unlimited to actually they're not. Because we're doing these capital projects in 5 locations, not just ours. It's shifting from one big church and 4 little pips to growing, transforming, urban, sophisticated congregations who are thinking about media and virtual memberships. And so we're just growing up. And as we shift, I think it's important for you to know that Middle's been doing strategic plans and vision plans for 10 years. And Collegiate is now beginning to do strategic plan and vision planning and thinking about what it wants to be in the future. Harder to do that with 5 systems, Middle, Marble, West End, Fort Washington, and intersections. Harder to do that than we can do as a family, but we're working on it. All that is to say is that the expectations of our partnership, and I'm not just talking about financial, but the expectations of our partnership have shifted. The clergy and I, the senior clergy and I, meet all of the time. We are in many, many meetings with each other and with lay leaders to work on the facilities, human resources, outreach, benevolence, care, financial planning, and investments, and a team that also works to make sure intersections keeps growing and blossoming. Lots of collaborating that takes lots of time because we're different. The bottom line for us is you've got incredible lay leaders. Dennis and I work on one team together. Our lay leaders are awesome, and they are leading Collegiate in new ways. Now, my little mini sermon is, to whom much is given, much is required. In other words, if Middle's a big girl, and she is, in terms of size and in terms of, let's say, footprint, in terms of response to the world, we can't on the one hand be a big girl and on the other hand say, we're not going to do our part. That doesn't work so well. We who lead, we who have deacons running the deacon program, Graham is the chair of the deacons. You know, Dennis is on outreach, working. James, are you on audit? James is on audit. Gloria Tate is, on investment endowment. Jeff Mummert now chairs financial planning. Big leadership. And leading means doing the thing you're supposed to do. So we have to shoulder our weight. That's what I want to say. What does that mean? That means that every year our stewardship ask is going to increase. That means some people are going to frown at us because we're going to talk about money, because we have to. We are a $1.6 million company. Think about that. I'm sorry, Harold, help you take that cough out. $1.6 million business. And of the $1.6 billion, we do a quarter. And we're not just a $1.6 million business, because there's a whole nother pot of cost over there that we never even have to look at. And of that, we do 15%. Everybody's gift matters. No one should feel like if I don't give, I can't come. On the other hand, everyone who feels like they're a stakeholder should give. And sometimes what we do when we're doing stewardship talks is saying, just give your time. That's great. It is great. But if you give $1 every Sunday, because that's what you can do, that makes you a stakeholder in a different kind of way than saying, I'm not going to give anything. Are you with me? And for me, this is a spiritual issue. And what I mean by that is how I use myself and my money maps onto my values. If I believe in what Middle Church is doing, then I want to make sure it happens. So I write my check like a bill. When I was on sabbatical, I sent my check. I write my check like a bill. I'm modeling for you and honoring what I learned from my parents. This thing matters, so this is what we do. I want to just say one more thing, because the most visible thing that we do is worship. How was worship today?
Yes.
Wasn't it amazing? I don't know if you guys can imagine how much time we spend to make worship happen. It's not the only thing we do, but it really is our biggest thing that we do. We do care, we do justice, we do education. But worship is this wonderful transformational lab, right? Where God meets us and we become. So we plan way ahead. And we involve lay people, and we involve the musicians. And, you know, Jonathan and I cook and struggle and get it together. This worship is expensive. And I say that to tell you honestly that it is not inexpensive to make amazing worship happen. It's time, it's people, it's talent. You know that we pay that choir, and we don't pay them nearly what they could make someplace else in the world singing. And can they sing everything under the sun? Our gospel choir is awesome, isn't it? Amazing. And they volunteer their time every Thursday night, sometimes twice a week. They don't get paid, and they throw down. But we do pay our band, and we don't pay them what they could make in the market. So the most visible thing we do has a cost associated with it. And I want us to know that and own that and think about that. That every Sunday we stream, every Sunday we put worship in the world, every Sunday we try to make this thing fabulous for you. That takes energy, resource, time, money. And I want you to have a sense of what that feels like, okay? So my closing point on the stewardship thing is you are our partners. One of the presidents, my brain is dead, said, ask people to give you something they know they can give, and they'll be delighted to give it. Eisenhower, somebody, one of those old guys. We're asking you to partner with us. We're not going to tell you that you're going to go to the devil if you don't tithe or some craziness that you might get in some other place. We're not going to pass the offering plate a bunch of times. And believe me, we're not going to ever have a pastor's honor day where you're supposed to buy me a watch. Or that's just not who we be, okay? We don't do that. We're not going to have the wear white women's day and the wear black men's day and the pastor's anniversary fund. You left that church, okay, to come here. But we are people who need your partnership, and we invite you to ask us anything and to be in it, to win it. And we're on the way to Gift to Bring Sunday, so your year-end gift is really important to us. And Chad and I are happy to talk about it. Okay, any questions? All the ways to give online, set it up, easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. Write your check, put it in the mail. Chad goes to the bank with those checks. He and Rebecca. Or you can use your credit card. You can ask your company if they have matching gifts, which is a wonderful thing to do. And of course, you can use an envelope and put it in the plate. Do use an envelope. I know some people put just a little money and they think, well, I shouldn't. I tell you, it feels good. When I was a little girl, my mom taught me to use envelope. I put 2 quarters in. But it just is like Jackie Lewis, 2 quarters. There's some kind of owning that, and plus it helps us to thank you, okay? All right. Cheryl, anything else you got? I'm going to ask you to close us in prayer. Chad, anything else you got? Any questions? Do you know that you're the best congregation in the planet? Yes, you are. Absolutely. Okay.
Can we all stand
Yes.
and hold hands?
Okay.
Love the holding hand thing. Oh. All right.
Thank you all for staying.
Yes.
Anna, do you want to come up and hold our hand? You good? She's good. Okay, she's okay. All right.
God, for the bodies in this room, for the hands that we are holding, for our strength, for our weaknesses, for our striving, for our falling down and getting up. You are always with us, and we are so grateful, God. We are building your reign, step by step, moment by moment, inch by inch, hip not working right, back not working right, a little bit of money, a lot of money. But we know that we are your children and that you are ever, 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 ever faithful. Guide us and keep our hearts energized and our feet light as we go about your work. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.